It's the Brad Field Weather Podcast, underwritten by McAllen Construction. McAllen Construction, from the first dig to the last nail. And by Action Carpet and Floor Covering of Simsbury, a family-run business there for you. I am Dan Lovallo. He is meteorologist Brad Field. We are putting this podcast together on Thursday, January the 22nd. And there is so much to talk about regarding the weather. But, Brad, I see you're wearing your New England Patriots hat.
I am wearing it proudly, Dan.
You should be wearing it proudly after the game they played the other day against Houston, and now they're just one win away from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I feel badly. I really, truly do. I feel badly for the fact that Bo Nix is not going to be able to play for Denver. But the fact of the matter is, I am always afraid when we go up against a quarterback who can do it with his legs. And apparently, Jarrett Stidham is a pocket passer. So Denver's going to have to sort of change everything. And no knock on Jarrett. I mean, we had him at the New England Patriots.
Right.
I think Bill Belichick drafted him.
Yep.
But, so I wish him well after Sunday next year.
Right.
I wish him well in his future. But I am very optimistic that the Patriots are going to be playing in the Super Bowl. So some of my favorite things are happening. I'm very optimistic about my Patriots. I'm very optimistic about a blockbuster snowstorm hitting Connecticut. The family is well and healthy. I'm talking to my friend Dan Lovallo. I mean, all is right with the world right about now.
Life is beautiful. Well, let's start with the NFL weather, because we know what the predominant story is going to be in regards to what's coming our way. But from an NFL standpoint, that first game on Sunday pits the Patriots in Denver against the Broncos. So what does the weather look like in Denver?
Dan, the storm that is going to be impacting us is going to be coming out of the Southern Rockies. And Denver is going to be on the extreme northern fringe of this storm tomorrow, Friday, and Friday night and early Saturday. They may get a little bit of snow, like an inch or two, something like that. But what is going to happen is the storm that's winding up, this storm that's coming for us is a blockbuster that is going to impact 2/3 of the country. And I'll try my very best to break down how it's going to happen for all the different states. But when this thing originates in the Southern Rockies and then starts pulling out into the Southern Plains, it's going to yank some cold air down. So, people always sort of make fun of the meteorologist. If I were wrong half the time and I could make the kind of money you guys do and this and that. But I'm even going to join in myself, because when I looked at the Denver National Weather Service forecast, today is Thursday. I believe I looked Tuesday for Sunday. They were predicting for the Patriots Denver game sunny and a temperature near 50. Then I looked yesterday, and their prediction was sunny and 38. Now I looked at the National Weather Service prediction for Denver for Sunday for the Patriots game. It's sunny and 20.
Ugh.
So you talk about a forecast being way off. They go from 50 on Tuesday to 38 on Wednesday to 20 on Thursday. So I think the idea is they don't have a clue here. But I do believe that they're on to it now, that when this massive storm pulls out, it'll yank some Arctic air down temporarily. Because Monday, I think it's back up into the 40s in Denver again. They've largely had not much of a winter this year. So my prediction for the game is sunny and cold, temperature near 20. but nothing like it would be in Foxborough. You remember the Snow Bowl back in 2001,
Right.
right? And remember Vinatieri kicking it through the snow and everything. What's going to happen in Foxborough on Sunday would make that look like a minor storm. I mean, it is going to be snowing to beat the proverbial band on Sunday in Foxborough, in Hartford, in Torrington, all throughout Connecticut. Um, so we'll talk about the storm in a second. I know you want to talk about who do you have as the winner?
Well, I have the Patriots winning the game. I believe they're going to the Super Bowl. How about you?
I have the Patriots winning the game, and it's largely because of Jarrett Stidham. I don't think that Vrabel has the defensive mind of Belichick, but he is very good. He's very Vrabel has shown he's a great coach. The players love him.
Right.
I do think he will come up with a defensive plan that's going to sort of challenge Sean Payton to throw the football. And then you'll have Gonzalez back there lying in wait to pick off a pass or two of Stidham's. So I just think that they're going to try to shut down Denver's run. Stidham really is a pocket passer, is not known for getting out of the box, has only started in 4 NFL games, has not thrown a pass in a game this year. I think there's going to be tremendous pressure on the young man. And so I've got New England winning.
Okay, well, we're on the same page there. Now, let's look to the NFC title game in Seattle later that day. The Seahawks hosting the Los Angeles Rams. What does the weather look like in Seattle?
Yeah, no issues at all, Dan. It looks like it'll be sunny and at kickoff between 40 and 45. So, I mean, that's just about perfect football weather. And gosh, I'm hoping that the Rams win because I would love to see a face-off between the two MVP candidates in the
Right.
Super Bowl. Can you imagine the
Oh,
lead up to that with
yeah,
Stafford against May?
yeah.
The old guard against the new up and comer. But I just think Seattle might be too strong, so I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Well, I'm with you on that one, too. I'm going with Seattle, which will lead to a rematch of the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Seahawks. And we all know what happened in that game as the Patriots pulled off a miracle,
Yeah,
helped
they
by
did.
Pete Carroll's brutal call, which set
Yeah.
up the win for the Pats. But that said, I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks. If Sam Darnold has a good game, and he certainly had a good game in his last playoff contest, and if they can control Stafford, then I think you're going to see the Seahawks and the Patriots in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah, say I shouldn't say this because the words will come back to bite me, but Sam Darnold does not really strike fear in me. Uh, like say if we had to play Josh Allen this week, or if we end up playing Matt Stafford in the Super Bowl. But I Seattle is just such a good team. They've got a tremendous running game. Although the Patriots defense has been strong against the run.
Yes,
So, one thing that I've learned is not to put the cart in front of the horse here. The Patriots have to win Sunday in Denver first, and then we'll worry about all that.
I agree. Well, let's get to the storm here on the Bradfield Weather Podcast. But actually, before we track the storm, Brad, I mean, we are about to get slammed with some brutal cold
Oh yeah.
late Friday into Saturday. What's up with that?
I saw this morning, Dan, and I cannot ever remember seeing it. It's a cold weather watch, and it was in effect for the Berkshires. I think it's called a severe cold weather watch, and I've never seen that. I mean, I've seen wind chill advisories, wind chill warnings, type of thing, but uh, there's a severe cold weather watch for the Berkshires beginning on I believe it's daybreak Saturday. But regardless of what watches and warnings are in effect or whatever, the fact of the matter is we've got a polar vortex, Dan, that originated at the North Pole. The vortex part means it's spinning around in a counterclockwise fashion. And you can literally see it as you look at the upper air flow patterns. You can see it coming down through west central Canada, straight south, and then rotating to the east through the Great Lakes and into southeastern Canada in Ontario province and Quebec province. That is the literal polar vortex, and it's coming, and it's going to bring severe cold, and we are going to precipitate into that severe cold on Sunday and Sunday night, which is a whole other thing that we have to consider, Dan. With this particular storm, we are going to have to consider the snow ratios. And what I mean by that is I'm expecting a very dry, very fluffy snow, but a very deep snow. So consider that if you have a storm coming along with its QPF, which means quantified precipitation forecast. That's what QPF stands for. A QPF around 1. That means if you take the snow and melt it down, you'd get about an inch of snow. And as a first approximation in predicting snowfall, we go with a 10-to-1 ratio. So we would essentially move the decimal point. So an inch of QPF would yield about 10 inches of snow when it's the 10-to-1 ratio. Now, the GFS computer model at 6Z this morning, which is 1 a.m. on Thursday morning, January 22nd, is given 1 inch QPF exactly at Bradley. Now, if you literally translated that, that would be 10 inches of snow. But with this Arctic air that it's going to be snowing into, I can easily see a 15-to-1 ratio or a 20-to-1 ratio. Now, where would that put us, Dan? That would put us at 15 inches of snow at Bradley, or if it's 20-to-1, that would put us at 20 inches of snow at Bradley. So this is something that we have to consider, and we could. The bottom line, though, is no matter how much we get, it's going to be very, very fluffy, very dry, and very easy to move, I think. There is one possible caveat to that. The immediate Connecticut beaches at the height of the storm may try to dry slot or warm slot. And, I'm using warm in quote marks here. They may try to get up to 32 briefly. The water temperature of Long Island Sound is currently 34 degrees. So, a wind off Long Island Sound isn't exactly going to raise the temperatures through the roof or anything like that. But it could get close enough that there could be like a little sleet mixing in or whatever, which could cause the ratio to be more like normal at the immediate Connecticut beaches. But then the ratios as you head up toward the Massachusetts border and over toward the New York border are going to skyrocket to 15-to-1 or 20-to-1 or something like that. That would really enhance how much snow is on the ground. So this is a big one. This is a big one coming. I haven't revealed my prediction yet, but it's big.
All right. Well, let's track it then. I mean, from where is the storm developing?
All right. The best way to say this is these baroclinic storms. What I mean by that is it's different than, like, say, a hurricane or a tropical storm, which are totally warm core. These baroclinic storms develop in temperature contrast. Now, you take a polar vortex, Dan, like I told you, is coming down from the North Pole and coming straight down through Saskatchewan and Manitoba province, and then hanging a left and moving toward Quebec and Ontario and northern New England. You take a pure polar vortex and pure Arctic cold and put it relatively close to the Gulf Stream. You have a container of gasoline and a match, and it's going to go boom, boom, and light off a massive storm. The proverbial bobogenesis that could occur with this storm. Now, so what we've got initially with the Arctic air coming down, we've got, for us, we've got, I'm backing up. I'm all discombobulated, Dan, because there's so much to talk about. But for us today, we're briefly mild. We're 38 to 44. Now I've got some ice on my driveway. What I'm going to do, and some snow from last night. What I'm going to do today is get my pitchfork and get that ice off, so that when the plow guy comes on Sunday to get the pure, dry, fluffy snow, he'll be able to get right down to the pavement. So if you've got any outdoor things to do, today is a great day to do them. Like get snow off your walkway or ice off your walkway and your driveway and everything to get ready for what's coming. So we will see this evening a reinforcing cold front come through. So after today's briefly milder weather, 38 to 44, we'll have a front come through. But the Arctic front is going to come through tomorrow, and it's going to come through by evening tomorrow. So behind this first front, Dan, we're going to go down to the teens and low 20s overnight tonight, and we'll only get to 28 to 34 tomorrow. So we're about 10 degrees cooler tomorrow, but we still haven't even seen the Arctic front arrive yet. The Arctic front is coming late tomorrow. And tomorrow night now, Dan, at your house, it's going to go down to 3 below. Around Hartford and south to New Haven, it'll be 2, 3, 4, something like that. But the wind is a huge factor. I think by daybreak Saturday, we've got wind chills of 25 below zero. So we've got pure Arctic air involved. Now, by Saturday morning, a sprawling Arctic high, and I'm not using that word lightly, it's straight from the North Pole. This Arctic high will be residing over the Great Lakes, but it is sprawling. It is delivering the cold air for the storm. Now, the storm that you're asking about, Dan, by Saturday morning will be around Houston, Texas. All right? It'll move on a course toward northern Alabama. By Sunday morning, the huge Arctic high is over Burlington, Vermont. So that is our source of cold air for the storm that's coming. The Arctic high is there. So Sunday morning, we will see the low that was in Houston on Saturday track into northern Alabama. We will see a secondary start to develop near Cape Hatteras. And guess what that is, Dan? That is the spot you look to if you want a big storm in New England. You want a storm near Cape Hatteras. You want a storm tracking toward the benchmark. We always talk about the benchmark. What's that? It's 40 north, 70 west. The storm will be tracking toward the benchmark. There are indications, Dan, it could slow. So we get the first flakes in here, I think about 9 a.m. to noon on Sunday. I think it's ramping up during the afternoon. I think we're getting heavy snow Sunday night. But with the storm exploding into a major storm off Cape Cod, with the upper level features coming across, I think we could see periods of snow of varying intensity all day Monday, too. So I'm calling it right now here on the Bradfield Weather Podcast on Thursday. No school, all schools on Monday. I think I'm feeling very, very confident about that. And my wife works in the Granby school
Right.
system, and I've already told her I believe there's a 75% chance of at least a delay on Tuesday because there's going to be so much snow that it's going to end finally by Monday night, but then you got to clear it. And,
Right.
and they got to clear the parking lots and the walkways at the schools and so forth. So, to come back to earth and seriousness here, you need to make sure that any elderly family or friends that you have they have their medications and so forth. They have food in the house. I'm not worried about losing power here because it's the dry, fluffy snow. It's going to fall right off the power lines. It's not going to adhere to the power lines, and then wind is going to bring down. I don't see any of that. But I do think it's going to be very, very difficult to travel on Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday. Throwing chemical down on the roadways isn't exactly going to melt it either because we're only looking at temperatures in the teens for the highs. So, it's not like, I'm looking out at my road in front of me today, and even though it snowed an inch or two last night, the road is just wet now and all pavement. That's not going to happen after this storm because we're going to be in the pure Arctic air.
Well, I don't want to speak for the governor, but it would not surprise me then with what you're saying that we could see the governor issuing some kind of announcement that he's closing the state down.
Yeah, it's a double-headed monster here, Dan, in that, we're going to get the deep snow, but we're also going to get severe cold. So the severe cold protocols are probably all going to go into effect too with the warming shelters and so forth. But I I am I'm really concerned about this one, not to hype it and all that. And I mean I'm not thinking power loss, but I am thinking uh, my friends are I don't have elite friends. They saved for a long time, but they're skiing in Austria and Switzerland, and they were coming back through at home. They live in West Granby. They were coming home through Atlanta on Sunday morning, and they were flying to Bradley Sunday afternoon. I said, that's not going to happen. Atlanta is going to be closed because of ice. And Bradley is going to probably be closed because of heavy snow. So they changed their flights and they're coming home now on Friday, going same way, going through Atlanta and up to Bradley. But I do think airports are going to be really, really crippled. And I'm not just talking about Bradley, Dan. You figure a flight might go from, say, Los Angeles to Chicago, then they refuel in Chicago and unload and reload and then go to Bradley. There are hubs all over the United States that are going to be directly impacted by this storm. So this has tentacles all over the place. I have a nephew and his young family living outside of Asheville, North Carolina. I'm afraid they could have a devastating ice storm. I'm afraid they could be without power for days and in the middle of the winter. It's a lot different when you lose your power after a summer hurricane than when you lose your power in the dead of the winter. So like I say, tentacles all over the place.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, and I know you're very cautionary when you use the B words when it comes to the weather, but I don't think it's overstepping to say blockbuster here or blizzard. How do you apply the B words in this instance?
Well, Dan, I consider this is just Bradfield and my 4 decades of experience in Connecticut. When we get 6 to 12 inches, I consider it a moderate to heavy snowstorm. When we get over a foot, I consider it a heavy snowstorm. So when we start talking about feet, 1 foot, 1.5 feet, 2 feet, that's where I apply the B word blockbuster. Now, blizzard has its own criterion and own definition in the National Weather Service glossary. And the definition is 3 hours or more of sustained winds in excess of 35 miles per hour, and 3 hours or more of visibilities under a quarter of a mile. And under a quarter of a mile would represent heavy snow falling. That's how we measure snow. When visibility is about a mile, it's considered a light but steady and accumulating snowfall. When it's a half a mile, it's considered moderate snow. And when it's a quarter of a mile, it's considered heavy snow. And I do think we will reach the blizzard criterion of 3 hours or more of heavy snow. I do think that. But I am skeptical that we are going to have winds of 35 miles per hour during the same time frames. So technically, it probably won't be a blizzard, but it may try to come close through parts of New London County, for example. They are the most likely to get the strong wind. Inland, I don't think we're going to have these kind of winds from the storm. But, it's like if it waddles like a duck and it quacks like a duck, a lot of people are going to be saying it's a blizzard, it's a blizzard. And it's going to seem like it's a blizzard, but technically it may not be a blizzard. But I'm going to call it a blockbuster.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because January, December was winter too, but January, maybe you can give us the climatology report.
Yeah.
It seems we're getting all these nuisance storms. We got 2 inches of snow overnight here in Northwest Connecticut.
I know it, Dan. We're in a winter where things are overachieving, which is, from a meteorologist's viewpoint, nice. And I was talking to my snowplow driver who was plowing my driveway the other day, and I had told him something like, 1 to 3 inches, and we ended up getting 5 here in East Windsor. And he goes, I like it when it works out this way, when you predict like less and you get more. So this seems like the winter of predicting less and getting more. So that's factoring into my decisions on Sunday as well. But yeah, the climatology, Dan, it was a snowy, fairly snowy December. We had about, I think it was 9.8 inches of snow at Bradley in the month of December. And so far in January, we have had 9.3 at Bradley. So we're up around 1.5 feet of snow so far. We're going to get another 1.5 feet of snow. So we're going to be coming up on 3 feet of snow for the winter by the time we get to Tuesday morning. And you could argue, and I often do, that the snowiest month and a half is ahead. A lot of times you get your heaviest snow from mid-January to mid-March. So we've got a long, long way to go. And I know I showed you yesterday, Dan, I am not ever going to be accused of being one of these guys. I could care less. I had my career. My career is over. It's over. I could care less about clickbait and getting people to like my posts and stuff like that. When I put out a forecast, it's just for my friends and for the citizens of Connecticut that this is what Bradfield, that your weatherman for 35 years thinks. And I liked Brad and he's a good scientist. And what does he think? That's all I care about. I don't care how many people like it or how many people share it or put out but the map I showed you, Dan, yesterday knocked my socks off. I it and I will just state to you, I'm not going to show it or anything, but I will state to the people who are watching and listening to the podcast right now that the GFS computer model, that's the American model, and it's mid-range, it goes out 15 days. I showed you yesterday a 15-day forecast that it was predicting yesterday 3.5 to 4 feet of snow in Connecticut over the next 15 days. Now, to me, it would be irresponsible to put that map out there with my name associated with it, unless I'm doing like I'm doing with you right now,
Right.
explaining it. This is just signaling the very volatile pattern we're in. Remember, I gave you the analogy, Dan, of the polar vortex being the gasoline can and the Gulf Stream waters being the match. And, it's going to blow. The GFS yesterday, upon closer inspection by me, was predicting 2 blockbusters, one this weekend and one next weekend, the last day of January and the first day of February. Now, truth be told, I've got enough on my plate with this weekend coming. I have not even looked at the one next weekend. But once we get past this storm this weekend, I will put my full attention to the next weekend possibility. I did talk to both of our underwriters yesterday, Dan. I talked to Christine McAllen and I talked to Kevin Blake. And I said, there's going to be a lot of McAllen Construction and Action Carpet podcasts on in the next week or two. And I said, thank you so much for sponsoring us. Dan and I thank you very much. And they couldn't believe what I was sharing with them offline. Like I shared with you yesterday.
Right. Well, it sounds to me from the northern Rockies to the Gulf Stream waters, these storms are made for you and me and just about everybody else. Well, that said, and we're putting this together on the 22nd of January, a Thursday. Can you time out the storm that's going to hit us Sunday and Monday, and perhaps
Yeah,
it left over Tuesday?
yeah, Dan, I think the first flakes are going to arrive in the mid to late morning on Sunday. So I would say something like, between 9 and noon, we start to see the first flakes. And then as we head toward the late afternoon and early evening Sunday, Dan, the snow is really going to ramp up. And I'm looking for times of heavy snow late Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. Now, by Monday morning, the storm is sort of adjacent to Cape Cod and starting to pull away. But the upper level support, the upper level low pressure system, the piece of the polar vortex, if you will be moving overhead on Monday. So I'm thinking, even though the main burst of the storm is gone, we're still going to have periods of snow of varying intensity during the day on Monday. So, I mean, when you wake up on Monday morning, there might be a foot of snow on the ground, but already, but as we go through the day on Monday, there could be another 2 to 4, 3 to 6 inches of snow from this upper level system going across. So we will keep the periods of snow going through the day on Monday. I think it all ends as flurries on Monday evening. And I think by the time we get around to Tuesday morning, the sun is back out, but we have deep snow on the ground across Connecticut. How deep, you might ask?
Well, that is the next question because I know you've got your pick as to how much we're going to get, and you're also producing your version of the whiteboard. So, what can you show us and tell us?
All right, Dan, my version of the whiteboard. I'll just come right here with it. All right. You tell me when you can see this pretty
Perfect.
well.
I can see it perfectly. That's perfect. My goodness, 20.9 inches of snow in Greater Hartford, 21.9 inches in Western Connecticut, 20.4 inches in Eastern Connecticut, 19.5 inches in the Greenwich area. That's a lot of snow, Bradfield.
Dan,
Wow.
this is called the Icon computer model, and I like it. My all throughout my television career, we had the American model, the GFS, we had the European model, now we have the European AI. We had the Canadian model. As you started getting in close to a storm, we had the North American model, the NAM. Um, we have the HRRR, the high resolution rapid refresh model. I like the Icon model. The Icon model comes from the scientists in Germany, and they are taking into effect, they are using the Kuchera method of total snowfall, which takes into account the coldness of the atmosphere. In other words, the fluff factor, if you will. So they're predicting up around 20 inches of snow for the state of Connecticut with a lot, that's deep, obviously, a foot and a half of snow, but it's fluffy and it's going to be fairly easy to move, I think. Now things can still go wrong. If the tongue of warm air comes up closer, I mean, we could have, sleet try to mix in parts of the state. At this point, I do not think that's going to happen. I did look, as I told you, you saw the icon there. I looked at the GFS this morning. The 6Z model at 1 a.m. has 1 inch on the nose of water equivalent at Bradley. And again, you take it at face value, the 10-to-1, that would convert to 10 inches of snow. This is not going to be 10-to-1. I can tell you that categorically. So if we do get the 1 inch of the QPF, and again, remember this, Dan, the meteorologist is the carpenter. The models are tools in the toolkit. And some of the tools are different than other tools. They don't all do the exact same thing. So it's my job and other meteorologists to look at all the different models and figure it out. The models go into it. My experience goes into it. I have lived in, I recognize patterns. Like this could be like the storm we had back in 2013. You recognize patterns. And some of it comes down, Dan, I'm going to get ridiculed for this, but some of it comes down to gut fever and intuition. Um, I feel I don't want to come off as a nut job that feels at one with it, but I feel like I have the ability to predict what's coming. I am intuitive about it. I feel like this is a big storm coming. So I put the models and the carpenter and tools thing, the scientist with experience in the area, forecasting Connecticut weather since 1983, and a little intuition. And let me explain that to you, Dan. I predicted 1 to 3 the other day. I was talking to my plow guy, and we got 5. You were expecting a coating last night. You looked outside this morning. You got two in Torrance. This winter, we seem to be snowing whenever it can snow. That is what I mean by intuition. I just feel like this is a winter where if it's going to snow, it will, and it will live up to its expectation. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah. So you put all these things together. It's not a perfect formula. You put all these things together and you come up with a forecast. And I've told you all along, Dan, I do not think it serves the public to use the windshield wiper effect, where, every 6 hours when the computer models come out, you gotta hit, you gotta miss, you gotta hit, you gotta miss. I always, when I was the chief meteorologist at NBC, I said, we are on an ocean liner and I'm the captain of the ocean liner. We are not going hard over. We are going to steer the forecast slowly, one way or the other. We will steer the forecast. You cannot go hard over because when you go hard over back, you look like a buffoon. You steady down the middle and adjust as you need to go. So you're not going to hear from me one day, 6 to 12, then the next day, whoops, 1 to 2 feet. Then the next day, whoops, hardly anything. That does not serve the public at all. So I think the things that I'm sure of, we've got a big storm coming. It's going to impact travel Sunday and Monday. It's going to impact schools on Monday. It's going to be deep. It's most probably going to be fluffy. So you accentuate what you know and you tell the public what you know. And I also know that this is associated with an extreme Arctic outbreak. So we've got the two-headed monster, the severe cold, and the blockbuster snow.
Wow. Well, that said, and again, we're putting this together on Thursday morning, mid-morning, January 22nd. What does the forecast look like?
All right, Dan, I'm going for partly to mostly sunny skies today and mild here on Thursday, January 22nd. And enjoy the heck out of the day because the temperatures today will be between 38 and 44. We might not see that again for a month. Seriously. Tonight, everything ices up. It's partly cloudy. It's 16 to 22. Tomorrow, we're behind the first cold front, but that's a polar cold front. It's not the Arctic one. It's partly sunny and it's 28 to 34 tomorrow. So we'll call that seasonably cold. But by late tomorrow, Friday, the 23rd, it's windy and it's much colder. Friday night, the Arctic air takes over. It's windy. On the thermometer, it's 3 below to 2 above for most of us. The wind chills are 20 to 30 below zero. Saturday, the wind chill is 20 to 30 below zero in the morning. It's ineffective sunshine. It's a sunny day, but it's bitterly cold. The temperature is between 8 and 14 for the high temperature. Thickening and increasing clouds on Saturday night. Sunday, snow arrives by noon. It is heavy at times by dark. The high on Sunday is in the teens. We have periods of heavy snow on Sunday night. Temperatures probably holding in the teens, maybe something like 8 to 14, something like that. I think by the time you wake up on Monday morning, we have 10 to 15 inches of snow on the ground statewide. The only caveat could be Middlesex County shoreline and New London County shoreline. But I think even at the beaches there, they're a shoo-in for 8 before any possible sleet or anything like that. But then we've got the snow of varying intensity on Monday, and it could put down another, let's say, 2 to 5 inches of snow. So a lot of us are going to end up with a foot to a foot and a half of accumulation from the storm. So 12 to 18 inches, that'll be my prediction by the time we come around to Tuesday morning. Tuesday, so Monday we have periods of snow throughout the day, 18 to 24. It ends Monday evening. Mostly sunny on Tuesday, 18 to 24. So the snow isn't going anywhere. And on Wednesday, mostly sunny, temperatures in the 20s. And I can assure you that you will hear from Dan and me again before we get to next Wednesday. So, I said this on the webcast this morning, Dan. Please tell your friends and family to go to bradfieldweather.com. Please go to our podcasts. If you're working in the kitchen and doing the dishes or something and you want to listen to the podcast, you can ask Siri, you can ask Alexa to play it for you. You get entertained by Dan and me. You get to know about the sports. You know what just happened? Siri just came on.
Well,
hey, Siri, stop. I'm always afraid to say it because it will come on.
Right.
But anyway, Dan, thank you to you. Thank you to Action Carpet. Thank you to McAllen Construction, and thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. And thanks for putting your faith in us. And the social media feedback we get after we put out, that we've listened to Brad for years, and whatever. It's very meaningful. So thank you very much.
Well said. I echo those sentiments. And on that note, Brad, to you and Sandy and our audience, be safe. We will be posting updates throughout, and just be well, my friend.
You be well, Dan, too. Give my love to Susan. And again, to our listeners and viewers, thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Brad. The Bradfield Weather Podcast has been underwritten by Action Carpet and Floor Covering of Simsbury, a family-run business there for you, and by McAllen Construction. McAllen Construction, from the first dig to the last nail.